Hello, listeners. Welcome back to Ascent. So today we'll be talking about another really interesting company in Asia. What if I told you one of the most exciting new players in the competitive field of large language models wasn't founded by a Stanford or MIT AI PhD straight out of the top lab, but by a quant trader? Was this quant trader, well, I'll tell you the name, LIANG Wenfeng, the man who solved the Chinese market? To what extent was his quant trading business developed in China? Why did LIANG Wenfeng pivoted from quant trading to LLM development? And the most mysterious of all, how was LIANG Wenfeng, the founder of DeepSeek, able to compete among all the giants in and outside of China? While all the other LLM giants are much better equipped than him. In this episode of Ascent, we're diving into DeepSeek. It is not just any one LLM story, but we'll be going through the founder's journey, how he embarked on the first half of the career as a quant trader and created a quant trading firm, and how did that firm later transition into an LLM company, which led to the product that we all know today, DeepSeek. Join us as we unpack this fascinating transition. Linda, I have a question for you. So if you were to have 80K RMB, that's roughly a little over 10K US dollar at the age of 22, when you just graduated from the college, what will you be doing? What will you be using it for?
Well, first of all, I would love to have 80K when I graduate from college. I didn't immediately have this, but I remember exactly what I've done with kind of my first major bonus paycheck, which is to spend it all on traveling in a 1 or 2 week holiday to Peru. So definitely spend it.
Yeah.
What about you, Pan?
Invested on the personal discovery. I think like yourself, the first amount of money that I get right out of the college, first wasn't a lot, and second, I also did a lot of fair share of exploration of the world. So, but I think in hindsight, I should have invested in something, which I guess brings us to the company, the founder that we're talking about today, LIANG Wenfeng. Well, not only is he a really good investor himself, he also made crazy amount of money in between the age of 22 to 30. And I guess I'll give you a little spoiler alert. Quick question for you. How many times did your income increase from the age of 22 to 30? It's kind of a painful question.
All right. So listeners, please think about your own income multiplication. Let's see. I think I'm not that much over the past 10 years. I think probably a little bit, I would say a little bit more than inflation rate, but not that much.
Yeah.
Definitely.
It is a factor of a few times, but it wasn't a factor of like tens of times or 100 times.
For sure.
Right?
And I think to your earlier point, later on, after spending my expenses on or traveling, later on, we eventually learn about investment. So I would actually say my investment return at some point cumulatively probably was more than my day job income. So that kind of calls into the importance of investing, especially in the last 10 years when the market is just doing so well.
Right.
Yeah. Which brings us to the answer to your question earlier. How much did LIANG Wenfeng make in the last 10 years?
I guess apart from all the news coverage about DeepSeek and how fast it expanded to different parts of the world, LIANG Wenfeng's personal income from the age of 22 to 30 was 100x. We will cover that later on in the stories, but just think about that. And he did that purely through his capability in mathematics and computer science.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
So how did he start?
So let's dive in. Chapter 1, LIANG Wenfeng's early ages. Small village math genius. So he was born in 1985, and he was born in a very small and peaceful and chill village by the ocean in Guangdong province. And if you don't know where Guangdong province is at, it is the province that is basically attached to Hong Kong. It is the northern part of Hong Kong. Both of LIANG Wenfeng's parents are elementary school teachers. The city, or rather should I say the town that he was in, had less than 1 million people, which is considered very small in China. The city is called Wuchuan. It is a hub for manufacturing plastic slippers,
Nice.
which has nothing to do with investing or, like not even tourism. I don't think anyone knows about that place.
So very, very modest beginnings.
Very modest beginnings. He is very talented. Liang Wenfeng is very talented in his elementary school, exhibiting mathematics, talents. When he did his college entrance examination, it was no surprise that he got number one in the town of Wuchuan. And also, with that, he made it into Zhejiang University, and he started studying electronic information engineering, which sounds very much like EE studies, something like that.
Yeah, and for those who, I guess, are less familiar with Chinese universities, Zhejiang University is, I think, no one would disagree if I say among the top 5.
Definitely tier 1.
Definitely tier 1.
Yeah.
It's extremely hard to get in. I don't have the exact numbers, but I would say like 1 in 1,000 or more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, my Google referral was a graduate from Zhejiang University, and she's a computer scientist as well.
Do they know each other?
Different times.
Right.
But from a tier 1 university is a very good start for the journey that he got himself into, like in terms of quant trading, because that's when the time that not only did he study, he also made his later partners in business for quant trading. So throughout his undergrad, besides studying, he did also run into a few interesting people. So in 2006, that was the time when he's a senior of college, he ran into someone who you may have heard of his brand, but the name Wu Tao, right, was the person that Liang Wenfeng had encountered.
What's Wu Tao's brand?
Wu Tao's brand is the #1 drone brand in the world. Currently, it's called DJI.
Oh.
So back in the days, Wu Tao is from Zhejiang, and Wu Tao had invited Liang Wenfeng to join the company. Had he joined the company, the DJI back then, Liang Wenfeng would have also been equally financially free, or had achieved his own wealth accumulation by now.
Right.
But he did not.
He has his own mindset. He has his own thing, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, hardware maybe not his thing as much.
For sure. So Liang Wenfeng seemed to have very early and strong conviction to artificial intelligence, and he believes that this will eventually be the force that changes the world, not so much as a drone, I guess. So
even back in 2006.
In 2006, he said no to Wu Tao, and a few years later, the actual partner that he had picked was a machine learning major. So I think maybe something was in his mind that he wanted someone who is, doing mathematics or in the computer science or in the machine learning field. So that seed was planted early on.
Oh, very interesting.
Yeah. He has his ideas.
Yeah.
So at the end of his undergrad, like any other student in China, you would think of, where do I go to graduate school?
Yeah, there's no way out directly from undergrad to job force.
Yeah. So starting in 2007, he once again enrolled in Zhejiang University for his graduate school. And at that time, he enrolled in information and communications engineering.
Okay.
Yeah. But think about this. The second year of grad school, which is 2008, the global financial crisis happened.
Right.
Financial crisis happened. While he was still in grad school, he became very interested in the, financial system itself and also the crisis. He was thinking, how do I leverage this into something that could really benefit me? So rumor has it that he was hiding in Chengdu and not so much spending time in Zhejiang. And he had spent time in Chengdu and learning how to code. And he had also written a automatic trading system while he was in Chengdu. And this program later on became the foundation for the trading algorithm that he had started. But this journey started as early as 2008.
Wait, so are you saying he skipped school for his own startup?
You know what? From all of the research, it is impossible to actually know whether he attended school, but he was just so intrigued, and he kind of started his own company, like sort of the seed round of his company, the very early stage of it, in 2008.
Right.
He just couldn't contain the curiosity of, doing more
Yeah.
in trading and doing more in writing algorithm.
Right. That's very interesting. I mean, without revealing my age, I started college in 2008, and I remember my first... Stop it.
Do the math, guys.
Do the math, guys. So in my first year of college, all everyone could talk about was the financial crisis. I mean, spoiler, I study economics, so obviously my classes are all about like, hey, if you graduated this year, you might not be able to get a job, but great that you're still a freshman. So I kind of
You know the
get
mindset.
why he, all of a sudden in 2008, like is trying to figure out a way to combine what he's studying with the financial market.
Yeah. Also, rumor has it that in 2008 was the time that he had the initial funding or the small principal of a couple 15K US dollar. It's like 80K RMB. It's not a lot. It is a very humble beginning, but that's sort of the money that he started with. Anyways, we'll come back to that number later. You just have to remember it's a very small amount of money.
15K.
Exactly.
USD.
Yeah. So then by 2010, time for graduation. He graduated from Zhejiang University with a degree in information and communications engineering, and specifically with a bit of a touch on machine vision or computer vision. And his thesis was on object tracking with the PTZ camera, which is the pan tilt zoom, which in layman's term is just a surveillance camera, right? So that's what he did. And let me just add one more thing before we dive into a very interesting event. So in 2013, 3 years afterwards, he had started this company, his first ever investment company, with a Zhejiang University PhD called Xu Jin in Hangzhou. And then the two of them started sort of expanding on the foundational algorithm that LIANG Wenfeng started in 2008. And then they were trading primarily in the stock market within China. People would say that LIANG Wenfeng and Xu Jin, what are they like? To give you a bit more context. So LIANG Wenfeng is like the very introverted Ilya Sutskever kind of tech bro. It's very quiet. And Xu Jin, despite being a PhD in machine learning and actual LLM, he is more of the salesman like Sam Altman.
All right. So not all PhD are introverted is what you're saying?
Yeah, no, well, I guess not. And their first ever investment company is called Hangzhou Jacobi or Jacobi. I don't know how exactly I can pronounce that, but the name is from a German mathematician whose name Carl, I guess, Jacobi.
Spells Jacobi.
Exactly, yes. And he was the German mathematician who made fundamental contributions to elliptic functions, dynamics, differential equations, determinants, and number theory. Right, so...
Stuff you learn if you majored in math.
Yeah. And Jacobi's work, particularly the Hamilton-Jacobi-Bellman equation, the HJB equation, had a significant connection to quantitative trading. Oh. So this mathematician's work is really quite favored by all who are in quant trading. And if you're in quant trading circle, I guess mathematicians would be, this particular person would be very well known.
So they nerded out on their company name.
Yeah, nerded out on the company name.
Really cool.
Yeah. Also, I guess a bit more on the partner Xu Jin, like XJ. Yeah, this is a very Chinese name. And I do not blame you if you cannot reproduce the name. Do not worry about that. He is also a graduate from Zhejiang University. And his major, when he was doing that PhD, is in machine learning. So he's actually a machine learning PhD and specializing in the LLM back then in 2013.
That's good foresight.
Very, very early on.
Yeah.
He was also very lucky. So in 2010, he had already been working and had led one company public within China. And later on, he himself joined Huawei's Shanghai Research Institute. Very hardcore and very good at sales. He's also very talented in the strategy making in quant trading firms, and the annualized returns with the product that he created sustained a 38.63% return, like on an annual basis. So that's not bad for a quant trading firm product.
This is his company, or this is Jacobi? Jacobi.
This is the early days of Wenfeng, which is Jacobi.
Ah.
Yeah, so it was the two of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
But the IPO company is another company
the separate
that
one.
he left.
Exactly.
So he owned two. He was
Yes.
running two companies.
That's right.
One IPO. One was Wenfeng, which is
Exactly.
high flyer.
Yeah.
Wow.
And he's also very young. And he is in the special talent class within Zhejiang University, like a crazy talent class, like Tsinghua, Beida, they
Special
all love it.
class.
Yeah, the special class.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways,
Genius class.
genius class, yeah. You
Easy.
just have to let the genius use the talent that they have and, make
Yes.
things happen. I think this is a sort
That's
of
actually DeepSeek's philosophy, which we will go into later on.
Yeah, we'll go into that later on. So one thing that's really worth mentioning that happened in 2012, which is a paper that is published. And it reads, ImageNet classification with deep convolutional neural network. Do you remember the name AlexNet project?
Yes.
Many times. Okay.
Yes. But for those of you who don't, it's a machine learning competition, right?
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. So it is a competition that is called ImageNet competition. And a sort of a robotic / machine learning scientist, Li Feifei in the Chinese term, she started this competition in 2006. And ImageNet is a project, it is a very large visual database designed for visual object recognition. And it's a software-based contest. So you basically just tag a lot of visual objects and see which one of the software can recognize, like in accuracy, which one of the object it is. And the database itself is very large.
Yeah, so I remember it was so the ImageNet competition basically gave away a data set of images,
Right.
and whoever gets the
most accurate answer.
accurate answer wins.
Yeah. That's right. So the implication of AlexNet or the ImageNet competition is it revolutionized image recognition by demonstrating the power of deep convolutional neural network, CNN, which is sort of the original deep learning
Neural network.
Yeah.
Quick fun fact about that. Machine learning has been in existence for years, and the concept of neural network actually is not new. It's something that was actually, I think it started in the 70s when there's papers published about it. But when it was kind of first used in research purposes, I think it didn't perform so well. So different branches of machine learning kind of started off better than neural network.
Right.
And so it's been kind of in its winters for the last 30, 40 years. And a different branch, which is more based on teaching the AI stuff and making it learn from like what we feed them rather than using kind of neural network, which is how our brain functions.
True.
Led most of the innovation in the past 30, 40 years until this very moment, which is AlexNet, which proved that neural networks are the way to go. And that kind of shifted all the research going forward.
Exactly. And another fun fact, which is, do you know who are the three authors that published the AlexNet project? Are the three alums from your particular university. University of Toronto, yay! Toronto. It's Alex Krzyzewski, if I mispronounced that name, I'm so sorry. And Ilya Sutskever, which later worked for OpenAI, and Jeffrey Hinton, which later worked for Google.
Yeah.
Yes. I vividly remember the email of Jeffrey quitting Google.
Never met him in U of T, but great professor.
Great professor. So, exactly. So 20, all the way throughout LIANG Wenfeng's graduate school time, seems pretty exciting. He finished his graduate study, found a partner, and his partner and him both have a lot of establishments and studies in machine learning in this particular sector. And in 2012, this very exciting competition happened, which I think I can only assume that if you're in this particular segment, you must know what had happened. On to chapter 2. Quant fund years. How fast can you really grow?
Can you make money?
It is really the speed that how fast it grew. And looking at the speed of a lot of different quant funds and how they grew. To be honest, many quant funds in the US they are sort of an extension of an existing hedge fund. So they are always starting somewhere, I guess, besides Renaissance. That's because of Jim Simmons also started from nowhere. But Liang Wenfeng, the way that the speed that he was able to accumulate wealth was really quite fast. And let's take a look at what he had done between the age of 22 after he graduated and 30.
Yeah, 100 times, right?
Yeah, 100 times. Yes, the end result is 100 times AUM. It's quite fast. So before we go into the numbers, let's do a quick definition on what is a quant trading hedge fund.
Yes. Teach us how to make money.
Oh my God! Actually, you should be doing this. we
let's
had
talk about it after.
Yeah, let's talk about it. We actually went through a trading software and saw what's the current offering for Liang Wenfeng's company, and it seems that it's performing very well at this.
Bad, yeah.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea. It is
40% above market.
Yeah. But it is listed as very high risk at this point, so
Yeah.
we'll have to.
The most risky type of investment, but most I think Chinese hedge funds or Chinese private funds are listed in the R5 most risky category.
Right. And you do have to have a minimum amount of sort of capital to be able to even buy that ticket.
Yes.
It's not like you can just have 20K and then enter. No, it's not that kind of deal.
It's a game for the rich, which we're not qualified yet.
A quantitative fund, commonly known as a quantitative trading hedge fund, it utilizes computer algorithms and quantitative methods to identify and trade most commonly stocks and commodities, etc. And these funds, they typically use a combination of mathematical and statistical models, and along with algorithmic strategies for trading opportunities, identification and execution, aka you don't need a person to be executing a trading strategy. You make the strategy first and then you execute. In both phases, you use you use an algorithm to do that decision making and then to do that execution. And it heavily depends on quantitative analysis for investment decisions and eliminating subjective human judgments and emotional factors. I think this is probably the hardest part in trading, because when you see the price goes down, that feeling.
You want to click sell.
Yeah, you want to click sell. But so the beauty of quant trading is it is a complete rational system. You program into the algorithm that when whatever number hits, goes up, then you sell. When it drops again,
Right.
You can buy in again. So it is less emotional, of course, than human beings. And these funds would use vast amount of data to understand the market efficiencies and understand the market trends. Typically, a quantitative trading team would be composed of mathematicians, statisticians, computer scientists, which is very different from the traditional traders who are sort of working the finance and hedge fund segment. Most commonly, if you read any financial newspaper or just read any stories about the quant trading firms, three strategies would show up very often, which is the statistical arbitrage, the high frequency trading, and factor investing.
Please explain.
Okay, I will try my best. Statistical arbitrage seeks to profit from temporary price discrepancies between assets that have statistical relationship. This is kind of what I described before. So
buy
predicting
high, sell low,
exactly
but with some kind of relationship
exactly
between the stocks.
Exactly.
Okay.
Typically and very popularly used in commodities because it has a very clear demand and supply relationship, and then you have a lot of historical data to refer to when you make a decision. Therefore, you're using the past historical data to foresee what's going to happen in the future. Should the demand and supply happen?
So like if you see a relationship between crude oil and natural gas, and one goes up and the other doesn't, there's an opportunity to profit from it.
I guess in very layman's term, yes, that would be an opportunity.
Okay.
And high frequency trading is just straightforward, as in you're taking advantage on how fast you can trade, right? Executing large volumes of order at extremely high speed, as in milliseconds. And I guess a little bit of a note here. So what we will discuss later in terms of the high frequency trading in China, I don't think it will be exactly what's high frequency in the States. There might be a difference because
lower frequency, high frequency trading.
Lower high frequency trading. So honestly, I'm not a trader myself, so I wouldn't know exactly how many milliseconds in China it would be traded. But based on the first of all, Chinese government and Chinese stock market just doesn't like high frequency trading. If it's commodity, then you can do high frequency trading. But if it's stock market, then absolute no go zone. So arbitrage itself, this idea is not very favored by the financial market here. So
the second one, high frequency trading, is more like trading frequently to benefit from increase and decrease during the milliseconds.
The more volatile, the better it is.
Oh, okay.
Right. So if you were to be experiencing a very high or a low, then and if you can benefit off of speed and you can predict, the prices, then there might be a lot of opportunities. So especially during financial crisis, this should be a relative combined with statistical arbitrage. You will be making a lot of money.
This is why I think a lot of the high frequency trading firm actually has a lot higher return during the market volatility and downtimes. Exactly.
Right. Yeah. So this relies on fast technology and low latency. And finally, factor investing, which I think is what a lot of Chinese quant trading firms have applied in the past, perhaps a combination with the previous two, but this one is definitely most favored and most pointed out, which is factor investing. You have a lot of factors. You build portfolios based on different quantitative factors or characters that are historically been associated with high return. So for example, crude oil is associated with factor A, B, and C, and you program your algorithm to specifically be related to your factors A, B, and C. And should factor A, B, and C were hit, and you buy in or you sell.
Oh, so it's like building a relationship diagram, like a tree diagram of all the whether stocks or commodities that you want to trade,
right?
And figure out what is the leading factors. If A, then B.
Exactly.
And I track A.
Right.
So if A changes, then I buy or sell B.
But here's the thing. I'm not a quant trader myself, but I've had a conversation with a real quant trader. And what he had been telling me was you always need to be finding what's the next new factor.
Factors actually change throughout the years?
Every factor can only be useful for a certain period of time. And if everyone is using the same factor, then the factor loses its efficiency.
So it's like, it's almost a competition of which fund finds the newest factor, because if you don't find new ones, you can't profit from the old ones because it's overcrowded. Or
your annualized return would start to decrease.
Okay, so it's a race to see who finds the best new factor.
Fast.
Constantly.
Exactly, constantly.
It's a lot of stress.
It's a lot of stress.
Okay.
Which is why you would need really a group of statisticians, mathematicians, and computer scientists to be able to do all of that. You're just analyzing a bunch of data every single day and finding what's the new trend, what's the new factor, and how can I be arranging all of these in my trading algorithm.
It's very interesting.
Oh my God, it sounds exhausting to me.
It sounds like my day job.
Linda has a lot of potential going into a quant trading firm.
Without all the 100 times.
When's your birthday? I'll be buying books. Let's solve the market.
Let's do that.
Okay, coming back to LIANG Wenfeng. So remember that he had a very small principal money by the end of his graduate school, right? And by 2015, this is when he is 30 years old, the market has already experienced 7 years of bear and bull market after the global financial crisis. And with that fluctuation and volatility, oh my goodness, by he is 30, he had made 100 million RMB. Obviously, this is not only from the 80K that he started. As you were saying earlier, probably other LPs joined later on, but all because of family and friends, I guess. But that's all because of he has demonstrated that I am able to deliver such a great annualized return. And it can be as high as 160% for the past 7 to 8 years. If I see 160%, I'd be like...
Cumulatively or Annualized.
Annualized.
Annualized
160%.
I would invest in him.
I would be like, take all of my money and I will shut up.
Take my money. Like take 25%.
Right.
Of the returns.
Right. So his personal wealth made it into the 100 million RMB bracket as of 2015. And that is declared in the news. The AUM that he was managing by the year 2015 was 1 billion RMB.
Wow.
Yeah. 10 times what he has. That's a lot of money. So by that time, so 2015, he already started, buying a few GPUs. Just,
Right.
for fun.
For fun?
Yeah,
or
for fun.
So we don't know for sure if he bought the GPUs because his fund required it or because his personal interest of just, I don't know, range. He just needs it as a informational, what's his major? Like he just likes exploring these stuff and he bought some GPUs, and back then there was an export control. So how many did he get? I think our research said different numbers.
Well, research says different numbers. I found 10 NVIDIA GeForce in 2015. I checked the version. It seems correct. GeForce seems correct, but I don't know whether it's 10 or more than 10.
So I got 100 from a source in China, but that said, we don't know a lot about this guy in 2015.
Yeah.
I was so somewhere between 10 to 100.
Right.
For 2015. It's a lot.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
So, but we all know that for someone who is in the year of 2015 already started buying GPUs very actively and knowing what they were doing with GPU, that falls in a very small group of people.
Definitely.
Yeah.
This is what 2017 is when ByteDance and TikTok really kicked off. So
they're only starting though.
Yeah.
And Zhang Yiming, I don't think he had any idea that this would turn into,
Yeah, they definitely didn't have GPUs. So he was ahead of the game.
Yeah. We'll do an episode of ByteDance maybe later on, and we'll find out maybe in 2015 like how exactly how prepared Zhang Yiming was at the time. So then 2 years later, remember the money that he had, right? So 2 years later in 2017, LIANG Wenfeng's personal wealth 5x. It was 500 million RMB, and the AUM that he was managing was 2 billion RMB. So that doubled again. Yeah, exactly. And in 2019, he started developing this special department within Wenfeng that specializes in large language model. It wasn't large language model, but it was more of a a processing cluster that he started, which is called the Firefly. And by 2019, that's another time when he got more cars, right?
Yeah, so it was said that Wenfeng's Hi-Fi fund used 1,100 GPUs for the High Flyer one, which is the the GPU cluster. And supposedly this 1,100 GPU is all used for the fund itself. But
we don't know.
I mean, I think he's running his personal projects. I don't know.
Yeah. He just seems always to be working on something else, right? It's a lot of GPUs for a quant fund. That is the size that he was managing.
I feel like there's definitely some that are used for R&D for other projects, and
for sure.
It might not be the direction where DeepSeek is heading today, but there seems to be some exploration beyond just using it to make money. Right.
Yeah. So that was 2019. What also happened in 2019 is he was doing so well in quant fund that he was given an award for being a top leading quant trading firm in China. And
was the firm, how big is it's the top, one of the top?
It was one of the top 10 firms in 2019.
Wow.
And in 2021, he became the top 5 firm.
Okay.
Right. And but the 2021 was primarily because of the size of the firm. The size of AUM grew even larger. The 2021 was the highest time.
Right.
We'll come back to 2021.
So 2019, he got an award as part of the top 10.
Right. Exactly. And in that award, he was managing about 10 billion RMB in 2019. That's already 10x when he started in 2015, right? And the speech that he delivered was called "The Outlook of China's Quant Trading: A Perspective from a Software Engineer." He's such an engineer.
Oh, so he's positioning himself as a software engineer.
Yeah.
Wow.
So he likes being a technocrat. We will get to this in a bit. Let's once again look at how much money he was accumulating in the next couple of years. So in 2020, Firefly 1 was well put into use, and Firefly 1 also created in 2 years 10x. He's 10 billion. So from 2019, he went from 10 billion to 2021, 100 billion. When I look at the number, it was the first time for me to count the zeros. I wasn't sure, am I reading this number right? But it was 100 billion by 2021. So that's how fast he grew.
10x in 1 year with an already high base.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's a high base for quant trading firm developing at that speed. Because usually, if you were to be going on to a different asset level, then you have to be shifting a lot of your strategies.
Although. So another callback to an earlier comment you made, this 10x, so 2020 is the year of COVID where a lot of people are putting money into investments.
Yeah.
So this 10x partially is because of return, partially is because of new LPs joining. We don't have that exact breakdown, but it is still very, very significant and very impressive.
Yeah. It is very impressive. 10x, I think I absolutely agree with the reason that you just provided. 2021 was kind of no one knows what's the best way to make money, so putting money into a fund that obviously can deliver results is a good idea.
Yeah.
So 100 billion RMB roughly translate into 14 billion US dollar, which is a reasonably sized quant trading firm.
Oh, in the US.
14 billion US dollar.
That's a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah.
And how well did he perform in 2021? He was targeting the Chinese CSI 500 stock index, so index fund. He outperformed the index by 50%, posting an annual return of 71%, thanks to the AI-powered prediction model, Firefly 1, that forecasted which stocks would perform better. This made LIANG Wenfeng temporarily one of the richest men in China, just the year 2021, but very briefly. Mm-hmm. With 2% management fee, and if you're making that much money, you're generating an estimated 200 million management fee just for the firm. That's 200 million.
He's still charging only 2%, which is actually pretty cheap.
2021 was 2%. I don't know for now.
Okay.
Maybe it had gone up.
But even then, I feel like that's
pretty cheap.
For this 75, if it's 71% return.
Yeah, it was 2% management fee and 20% carry.
Okay.
Yeah. But think about this. Maybe he would be charging more management fee for now, given that he has a DeepSeek that he has to, foster, like being the dad of a very young kid that spends a lot of money.
Maybe. Yeah.
Maybe, yeah. How did LIANG Wenfeng spend the, 2% management fee? Out of the 200 million, he spent 155 million to buy 10,000 pieces of NVIDIA A100 chips for Firefly 2. That's going to come up. He also spent 60% the research fund on its AI lab, which I think later on became what's DeepSeek today. But in 2021, he's already actively spending a lot of money on A, the card, and B, what other infrastructure can be put onto the AI research lab.
So the management fee and carry got reinvested into the future business.
Exactly.
Well, fund 2 and future business.
Yeah. Didn't take much.
Now that I'm looking at the numbers, 71% means he 10 times, right? But 71% is the return. So actually a lot of people put money in the fund.
For sure. A lot of LPs join the fund later on. Yeah. Are you seriously thinking about putting money?
I'm not. I can't afford it. It's there's the minimum threshold to enter is very high right now.
This is not investment advice, friends. So please invest. Don't. Yes, very rationally.
Actually, if you're outside of China, you can't even get in. But but just something very interesting to look at the historical returns for this fund.
Yeah, but remember the year 2021 because we're going to come back to that. So let's do a quick summary, right? In between LIANG Wenfeng's 30th birthday to his 36th birthday, how much money did he make? He delivered 5 times AUM in 3 years, 10 times AUM in 4 years, and finally 100 times AUM in 6 years. Let's just say this guy is constantly improving things, and things were upward trending despite like COVID happened, and a lot of competitors then joined the market. As you said, a lot of Wall Street bros came back and started quant trading firms. He still is very much in the game and delivering the growth.
Delivering more than most funds.
Yeah, delivering a lot of funds. So, okay, remember the 2019 speech that he had very emotionally, sort of, I don't know how emotional.
As a software engineer.
As a software engineer that he gave on the outlook of China's quant trading future.
Yeah.
So I looked through everything. A few things I can tell. First, he likes Jim Simons a lot.
Jim Simons, the Renaissance guy, had the U.S. equivalent of LIANG Wenfeng.
Exactly.
Okay.
LIANG Wenfeng is such a fan of Jim Simons that he wrote the foreword for the Chinese translation of The Man Who Solved the Market.
Jim Simons' book.
Yes.
Wow.
Well, Jim Simons, he's a
autobiography about him.
Right. That was written by Gregory Zuckerman, a Wall Street Journal writer.
Oh.
Yeah.
I can't believe you remember that.
I recently finished the book.
Wow.
So the core insights of the speech that he had delivered in 2019, I can sum up, I guess, 3 points, which is he thinks that there is going to be massive growth potential for quant trading inside of China. It's kind of true. Yeah, it's kind of true. This is only the beginning of the industry, and LIANG Wenfeng highlights that the quantitative trading is becoming mainstream globally, and he was comparing the Chinese market with what's happening in the US, like Bridgewater and AQR Rentec, managing huge assets. And he points out that in China, there is just so much headroom with the Chinese quant market. And comparing to the current AUM that is being held in the Chinese quant firms versus the trillions of dollars that is being managed by the US firms.
I think a number is that the half of the U.S., all trades in U.S. are coming from hedge funds, and China is much lower. So by benchmarking, he thinks that there's a lot of room for growth. Exactly,
a lot of room for growth. And second of all, a quick comment on the efficiency of the models or the algorithms that's being used. So LIANG Wenfeng observed that the industry in China is improving very fast, and it's roughly doubling every 18 months due to Moore's law. But the average profitability hasn't increased because of market efficiency is also rising at the similar pace. And so this means that the strategy that worked before is not going to work as well in the future or over time. So he thinks that there must be a shift that is moving from traditional multi-factor models, which is the one that we talk about, to AI, and then to more integrated frameworks. So he thinks that innovation in this sector with the algorithm will continue to go on, and it will be more complex and more robust to support a more complicated and more efficient trading in the market.
So like more competition among his peers are actually driving the market to more sophistication going forward.
Exactly.
Makes sense.
Yeah. And finally, and this is the one that we sort of discussed very briefly before we started recording, which is he then outlined a short-term and a long-term strategy. So the short-term strategy he thinks moving forward is called the multi-strategy integration, which is starting from now, in the next 1 or 2 years, you can't just be using one strategy to be able to gain all of your profits. You need to be combining strategies. And the example that I said that you said was not useful was combining high frequency with some of the multi-factor trading. And you're like, Chinese market doesn't like high frequency at all. So there's no way of integrating that.
Yeah. So I guess context for everyone who has not traded in the Chinese stock market. The Chinese government or regulators disallowed same-day trading in the stock market. This is only the stock market, so you can't trade anything. You can't buy anything and sell it on the same day. There's other ways to get around it, but it just makes high-frequency trading in the stock market
difficult.
Very difficult.
Yeah. But commodities is fine.
Commodity is fine, futures and options are fine, but those are very limited to non-retail traders and heavily regulated because there's been a couple of incidences in the past that created a lot of commotion, let's say, to make the regulators more strict.
Right.
Yeah.
And the government's crackdown on the within day or T0 trading in the stock market, I think is also a way to protect the people who are in the stock market. Like,
yeah, the emotional retail investors of China, because i.e. my family.
The volume is really large, and so very much unlike the US scenario, where I guess 80% of the stock market consists of agencies and institutions, and 20% are just individuals. The Chinese is kind of the reverse. So you need to be protecting the people, it's the majority of the people who are in the market, and that you cannot encourage such behavior to dominate, right? So that's kind of where that crackdown policy is coming from.
Yeah.
Right. And okay, coming back to 2019. So long term, he thinks that the industry is going to move towards quantified fundamental analysis, and primarily tackling the inefficiencies that is still in the market. And he says that it's feasible and necessary as technical strategies will become less profitable. To be honest, yeah, like just going back to fundamental analysis.
It's almost like saying high frequency trading or quant based trading will need to make way for like a mixed strategy.
Yeah.
So I'm blurring the lines between
long-term
quant and long-term fundamental trading.
Yeah, sounds like
very interesting.
Very interesting.
Yeah, it's I guess unique to China.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess very unique to China. He's suggesting that long-term trading, or like I guess intrinsic value-based trading, should definitely still be there, but in the meantime, like quant trading should still serve its purpose and should be improving in its strategies to improve efficiencies of the overall market. Anyways, so the conclusion that he had by the end of the award ceremony is, as a hedge fund, our mission, aka as Wenfeng HF's mission, is to improve Chinese secondary markets efficiency. Which kind of, he did that.
He has to say that in a public setting. Like, what is he going to say? Like, we're not going to help the market liquidity. True.
Yeah. That's very true. So I think he did what he could, I guess, as from a market participant's point of view, or like as a leading quant firm's point of view, and also as a software engineer.
And I think for anyone who's trading in 2019 would have a positive outview of the market.
Because it's positive.
Exactly.
Because it's positive. Yeah. It's very much upward trending. All right. So moving on to the next chapter. Sort of a midlife crisis kind of chapter, right? Like, we all hate that chapter, but it's coming up.
He turned 35.
35. Yeah. So
that's not old, guys. That's not old.
No.
35 is completely not midlife.
It's a perfect time to take a challenge. Exactly. Let's just say it that way.
Exactly.
So 2021. Remember, 2021 was the best year that he had, right? He was managing 100 billion RMB in 2021. Firefly 1 was working just fine. And 2021, he became the leading quant strategy hedge funds in China. Top 4, to be specific. Right. But in the meantime, later on in 2021 was a serious challenge, and 2021 became the worst year for LIANG Wenfeng as well. So officially, what happened? Officially, in November 2021, there was an incident where the fund experienced continuous max drawdown, and I'll explain that in a bit. The return started to decrease over and over again. And starting from November, in 1.5 months, the asset that he was managing decreased from 100 billion to 80 billion. And
20%.
It was still continued to decrease. It was so bad that Wenfeng HF had to issue a public apology to the investors about the max drawdown. It was, apologizing and made a public claim that it will continue to reduce in size. It seems that, better model is needed. They cannot be managing such a large amount of fund continuously. And a lot of things went wrong. And that the apology was the only thing that was disclosed. Some other funds also did equally bad. And then there were guesses that they were using the same factor. And, if you're using the same factor, then maybe it's not efficient.
So everyone's using the same strategy, but they're using the same wrong strategy at 2021?
Well, I cannot know, like, what would be the exact reason, but the return for a lot of the funds at the end of 2021 were bad. And the only assumption that was fair to make was maybe people were banking on the same factor, and then the factor did not yield as good of a return. So I guess what's a max drawdown in the quant trading, and why is it very bad for quant funds? A drawdown is a decline in value of an investment or portfolio from its peak value. It sounds bad.
But it's also, I think there's two factors. One is the return actually declining.
Yeah.
The other one is I can actually, as an LP, take out the money.
True.
So a mix of both. Like it kind of is in a circle. So if the return is not good, then I'm going to take my money out.
Exactly.
I think there's specific times where you can take your money out.
Right.
Like you can't just take it out it's not like stock where you can sell it every day.
Right.
But during 1 month, 20%, that's a lot.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
It's also a very rapid loss of, I think, credibility.
Yeah.
You've just, went up to 100 billion and but you were not able to sustain that. So I think that's a question for a lot of the quant trading firms that's like up and running these days. Like how long can you be sustaining your sort of level of asset?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it's bad enough that he has to make a PR statement.
Yeah. The challenge begins 2022. If you were LIANG Wenfeng, you'd be thinking so, how do I continue? How do I proceed from here? Are there ways to pivot? So here is the actual circumstances that's in the year 2022. Externally, there is continuous government crackdown, the one that we just talked about. The government does not support or like any type of financial arbitrage in the stock market. And LIANG Wenfeng's, he's a initial part of the strategy were all related to the stock market.
Right.
But obviously there is the commodity bit, but a part of his strategy probably will have to retreat because of the government crackdown.
Yeah, so the Chinese government has, I guess you can say, a bigger hand.
A big invisible hand.
Big invisible hand on the market. Yeah.
Yeah. And if you look at Bloomberg News, you will find out that in maybe as early as 2020, there are continuous news that's been published about like how tight the control will be for Chinese quant trading firms. It goes on and on and on. The more profitable that the quant traders find, I guess the more regulations there must be. But up until today, I think commodity is still very much welcomed in the market, but it's just stock market. There's a lot of rules and regulations.
Yeah. It kind of makes sense. You have to protect the retail investors a bit more.
The retail investors unite. Yes. Okay, so also what happened externally is by the end of 2022, November 30th, if you can remember what happened on that day, is the very first version of ChatGPT published by OpenAI. Yeah, that is the end of 2022.
It's been 3 years?
Yeah,
wow.
it has been 3 years. But the November 2022 ChatGPT wasn't the ChatGPT later on. Like it wasn't.
Well, it's 3.5. It's the one that made all the news, right?
Right. Yeah. 3.5 exactly. And so that was the external circumstances, right? So
we were still locked down back then.
We were still locked down. We were not even. What were we doing? We were in Yunnan.
Not November, but I think December is when everything kind of went haywire and country opened up.
Exactly. So. So while we were going into a lot of chaos, ChatGPT is being published. And also, like the fund itself has not been performing very well throughout the second half of 2021. Performance were declining. And according to a lot of financial news, they worded as partly due to its AI mistiming trades on the market. I'm not sure how to understand that. But yeah, what do you want to say?
So I think the government published, there was also, like stock-wise, the retail investors are also not so happy about their return. And I remember the government kind of blamed it on the hedge funds.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was during that time.
Yeah. I can imagine. It will make sense.
Yeah, it's a lot of money lost.
Right. A lot of money that's being misused, mistimed.
But it's really, if you look at the historical fund return, it was briefly.
It's decent.
Yeah.
It's decent.
It was briefly down in 2021. I think people did panic and withdraw their money. But later on, the fund went on and it was doing
It was okay.
decent returns.
I did look at some of the numbers of the annualized return all the way from 2016 to 2021. In between 2016 and 2018, for HF, the neutral strategies annualized return was in between 20% and 30%. Was great. Yeah.
Pretty good, yeah.
And 2019 to 2020, because of Flyer 1, the annualized return, and for the CSI 500 equivalent ETF, it was between 30% and 40%. But in 2021, that return dropped down to 15%.
Oh, so it's still positive. I thought people are like...
It's still positive, but that may be the best performing product. If you were to be looking at all of the products that's from HF, maybe it's
so there are funds that are not making money,
exactly.
And then this fund, the top money making fund is 15%.
Exactly.
Which is decent by any means.
Yeah, which is decent even with an ETF, I guess. So we are moving back to 2022. So I think by year 2022, because of all the internal and external reason, and also I think with Liang Wenfeng's personal interest development, he was finally able to decide that I think it's time to make my LLM company an official thing, aka the AI lab that was within HF fund.
Yeah.
Right. Moving on to 2023. 2023 was the year that the artificial intelligence research branch and the hedge fund split. Exactly.
Or he created a new company that is focused on artificial intelligence.
Exactly. Take us from here.
All right. So the AI LIANG Wenfeng was born. So 2023 May is when he registered the company, which is the parent company of DeepSeek. 2023 May is when the company was officially announced, DeepSeek. With the announcement, actually, the statement was they're focused are on AGI, artificial general intelligence. Wow. It was never about application. It was always about infrastructure. This is from day one when they established the company, that was the goal.
Very farsighted.
They're very
similar to Sam Altman.
Exactly. So that's actually very different from most companies in China. Most companies never claim that I'm going to
have a vision of AGI.
Right, exactly. Like I'm going to establish a company that is going to be benchmarked against OpenAI, against Anthropic. I'm not about applications. I'm not about short-term ROI. This is very, I would say, like non-Chinese company mindset in general.
Non-conventional,
exactly. Because over the past 10 years with the rise of tech companies in China, it's always about short-term ROI. It's always about, the PE firms are so spoiled that they want IPO in within 7 years, right? That's that was a pretty bold statement to make, and he actually stuck true to the statement to this day. So they published their first LLM model 6 months later in November, and it's called DeepSeek V1. That made zero splash.
Zero splash.
Nobody heard about them. I mean, maybe people in the industry within China
would know that is a boutique, cute little model that the Chinese has made, but nothing threatening.
Right, exactly. And the first wave they really made was mid-2024, which is really one year after they established a company. Still pretty fast. And that's when they published DeepSeek V2. And there's kind of two innovations in this model that created some splash in the research market. So it's still not general yet. Like we haven't heard about it at that point, right? As users of language models. So the first innovation is called Mixture of Experts, MOE. And it's basically an idea that started in the 80s or 90s.
Nothing new.
It's nothing new, but they used it, whereas a lot of the other models didn't. And to put it into application is something that a lot of people applauded them for. And the idea is usually you, in a LLM model, you need billions of parameters, right? And that requires a lot of computation power. So MOE architecture actually only calls upon the experts. So only if you have, so right now their model has 6 billion parameters. I only call maybe a fraction of that that are my experts to this kind of questions and whatnot. And so that reduced the cost by a lot.
Yeah.
Right. So that made some splash in the research within the industry.
Right.
The other innovation was called, not really innovation, but also something that has used before, is called MLA. But this one, they kind of created them. I think that they're the first one to really use this in LLM models. And this is basically a librarian. I'm trying to put this into like simple term, but like if you, rather than keeping a library at your disposal with all the books, you kind of condense everything into this book of glossaries, but then you're allowed to zoom into any item and still extract the necessary information. So another cost-saving effort to reduce training costs. And a combination of those two and some of the other innovations kind of made some splash in May of 2024. Okay. And
can't believe it's a year ago.
it's only a year ago. Yeah.
Oh, wow. It's exactly a year ago.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
The reason why all of their efforts so far has been around cost saving. It's not because they don't have money. We just talked about how much money they have. Right?
It's like, make them rain, yeah.
Yeah, it's not because they don't have money. It's because they can access the top GPUs,
Oh, yeah.
the top performance GPUs.
Ay.
Because as of 2022, you can't get any of the A100 cards, NVIDIA cards, into China.
Well, welcome to the
legally.
band world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why he actually, the team, DeepSeek team, actually made an effort to reduce costs, and that's what later shocked the market.
Start to process the problem from a different perspective.
Yeah.
If I can't buy more, how about I just use the downgraded version, but use them more efficiently and use less computing power?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's ironic that the ban of high-performing GPUs
Push them.
forced DeepSeek to be innovative,
Yes.
which later shocked the entire US, if not global, generative AI industry.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Prior to them, I think all the other major AI or AGI or LLM companies in the US, they were competing on the size. Whoever has more GPUs or has a larger data set or essentially have more money can compete further. That is not wrong, but
Exactly.
but the fact that DeepSeek can do that made people realize that you don't need to have the most groundbreaking GPUs to be creating a very efficient and useful LLM.
Yeah.
Cool.
Exactly. So then this is V2, then half a year later again, so every half a year they come up with another version, is the one that everyone kind of that caught the world's attention, which is two things actually, combination. So they published V3, which is an extension of V2, which is their general AI model, in December of 2024. So about 7 months later than V2. In January, they published, again, another model called R1, which is the reasoning model. Both together is what really made the news. But what I think that actually caught everyone's attention is because both V1 and V2 are not mass releases. They were not on the app stores. There was no website that you can access to ask the LLM questions.
True.
Right? So users that are not in the industry, that doesn't know how to use GitHub to clone the model itself, don't have access to it until December.
Right.
And that's why it blew up. I think most people talk about the shock factor as, oh, it appeared as the top ranking app in terms of download in the App Store. And that's how we know about it.
Right.
Right. And that's not how I knew about it. And
that's what we experienced during the Chinese New Year time.
I know.
Yeah. The news published, it was January 20th or something, or 25th.
Yeah.
And it came all of a sudden, and then the next day everyone is talking about it, and it show up in the App Store.
It's literally when
Overnight.
everyone is on vacation too.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like you don't do that to people who are on vacation. Like
Yeah.
everyone then has to go. Like if people who are, trading in the U.S. market, they have to, like the Chinese trader who are trading in U.S. market, they woke up that day thinking that they're on Chinese New Year break.
Oh man, have to go back. Have to go back to work and sort out the NVIDIA chip.
Exactly. So that was one of the shocker. Obviously, there's the price factor, right? So I think you might remember the $6 million training cost is what was published everywhere. How did the 6 million came about? Because it's an open source model, they actually publish a lot of stuff. So along with V3, they published an article in their blog saying a cluster of about 2,000 NVIDIA H800. So H800 is the China version of 8800 after the export bans. And it was it used a total of 2.788 million GPU hours. And they estimated if you rent this GPU in the market is about $2. So 2.788 million times $2 per GPU hour, that's 5.6
million.
And 5.6 million USD. That's the number that was quoted. That was the number that every single article ended up publishing. Everyone thought they trained a model for $6 million, and I think some article in the immediate aftermath, the first 2 days, people were comparing this number to the billions of dollars that OpenAI spent, and was like, what are we doing, USA?
The tens of years that Liang Wenfeng spent in hoarding the cards and doing the trainings himself, and in the past 10 years, and hiring the talents and hiring the people, none of that was counted?
Yeah, none of that was counted.
That's not fair.
Yeah, and I think a day or two, I mean, immediately people were start to kind of realize and publish articles, but it was too late for the stock market.
just poor financial reporting.
Yeah.
That caused the stock market to react.
So the stock market reacted. NVIDIA saw its worst. I think the stock market overall saw its single stock worst return over 1 day, which is 17% down. And then obviously people started to realize, or they realized, but people started to publish articles saying that, that this is just the last run of that model, right? There's so many other costs, like human resources, for example, research and development, everything that went on before counts.
Yeah.
So if you add that up, I think there are some numbers that puts this whole project between 500 million to 1.6 billion, which overall is still cheaper than US companies working on the same things. But the shock factor was late. No one expected a Chinese company that is not ByteDance, not Alibaba, not Tencent, to come up with a model that on performance base matches that of ChatGPT's latest, probably better than Llama, and is open sourced.
And it's free.
And it's free. It's not free for API, but it's free for everyone to use.
Right.
Even the reasoning model is free for everyone to use. Stanford published an article that says, we thought China was way behind on all the generative AI models that are coming up. Effectively, China is behind by 3 to 4 months with a lot less chips. So be alert.
All of these developments are because of Liang Wenfeng couldn't find better resources. There's no chips, and if you don't want American educated PhDs, we'll just find homegrown ones.
Yeah,
So-
that's actually a really good point. Let's touch on that.
Yeah.
He doesn't want, no, we're not saying that. He doesn't want American PhDs.
Okay, sorry, I said that. He never said that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think he ever disclosed that we don't want international talents. I think it's because he wanted, but he couldn't find, or there's just not as many in the market.
He's not ByteDance, right?
Yeah.
So it's hard to find.
Hard to attract talents.
Yeah.
It's still a small lab.
Yeah, and he has a lot of options because it's a small lab. Like, they're quite selective about talent. There's someone complaining online about, like, I'm a Huawei engineer, top of my school, blah blah blah. 8
I'm
years
like
of
P5,
working
P6.
experience. DeepSeek never gave me an interview. Like, hey. So there is a DeepSeek hiring philosophy, which is super interesting, which is, and I'm not speaking for them, but this is coming from stuff we gather from the headhunters that are talking about their hiring strategy, which is they tend to hire folks that are new graduates or folks that are still in the last 2-3 years of their PhD program who studied domestically in China, which is very counterintuitive, because most of the other companies are actually trying to find talent from OpenAI, from Anthropic, from Google and Meta, right? And try to get them to come back to China, to oversee students, and to help the Chinese AI industry grow, and offer them probably 2 times of their salary that they're making in the US. And LIANG Wenfeng went completely a different approach, and it worked. It's kind of ageism, but they actually refuse to hire people that has more than 5 years or 8 years of experience, because the philosophy is that I'd rather hire someone who are more creative, or who doesn't have necessary experience but are smart and think about how to solve problems, rather than someone who's good at what they're doing but have a specific way or is used to doing things a certain way because this person is experienced. So it's very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Willing to hire new and innovative people without any experience. Yeah.
And so they currently have, I think, about 150 or so employees. And I think a majority of their employees are 20-something-year-olds, right? So it's very interesting. And I look at their top maybe 20 or so. Most of them are from Beida or his Zhejiang University. So Peking University, Beida, or Zhejiang University. And a lot of them has PhD degrees. And they had their PhD degrees domestically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gives a lot of hope for the LLM industry within China. But I think, before recording, we both shared this very critical view about DeepSeek, right? Obviously, great company, made a hit, has been working on this for a very long time, have their way of accumulating wealth, have their way of hiring talents. But the question that we both had was how long they can last, or how long they can remain in this industry. What are your thoughts on that? This race will not end in the next 2 years. It will be in a while.
Yeah.
Right. And obviously he can still have a group of talents, and he can still be Huanfeng HF fund as of this point is still up and running, but it's just much smaller in size. What do we think of the future of DeepSeek, and how is that going to go?
Personally, I'm very concerned. But there's a few factors. Let's run through some of them.
Okay.
So first of all, there's a whole cost issue, right? He managed to keep the cost down, and he cut down the API cost so much that ByteDance, Alibaba, OpenAI has to respond. And it's free for everyone. So I'm not sure if they're actually making money.
I don't think they are starting to making perhaps a little, but
right.
Yeah, they're not on the the extremely aggressive end of commercialization yet.
Yeah, and they're definitely on the cost reduction front. Like, they could have priced their API a little bit higher, but they chose not to, because I think the end goal is AGI, and so this is kind of all the path toward it. But he doesn't have funding. He uses his own funding, or he uses funding from HF fund. an article I read that he actually, at the beginning, maybe 2023, 2022, when he wanted to establish DeepSeek, he did go talk to investors to think about, maybe I shouldn't fund 100% myself. It should be, us with the investors. We can maybe tap into their resource, et cetera, which is most startups, AI startup did this path in China. DeepSeek didn't end up doing it because with money comes with obligations, and usually these obligations means commercialization early on.
And return.
Yeah. And that's not the intention for a company that is looking at AGI. That's not that's not what OpenAI has achieved. That is, that's not the fundamental goal of LIANG Wenfeng at this point.
LIANG Wenfeng's company feels very much like a university lab.
Exactly.
Right? Like he it doesn't feel like that he wants to be delivering anything commercial just yet. He's just hoarding a lot of really talented students and say, do whatever you want.
Yeah, it's a research lab. It's a research lab funded by a really rich hedge fund investor.
Interesting. Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
You just don't call it DeepSeek. You just call it a research lab. I think that's a more accurate depiction of what it is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the question is, this business model will only work when you have enough belief in the AGI, in achieving AGI through LLMs. And you're going to continue to make money on your fund to supply this, or you find another investor. But like you said, with investor come with obligations, and can you take on these obligations without disrupting your research idealism? Yeah. So, I mean, research idealism meaning that the employees of DeepSeek apparently can run any model without pre-approval. They're just like, I have this idea.
Full freedom.
We have enough chips back then. Try it out, Can this continue, right? Especially yesterday, NVIDIA, again, their Q1 report came out and said, hey, we can't deliver H20 anymore to China because of a recent restriction the US government has put on us again. So context, China ordered about, I think, 1 million unit or so of H20, which is the chip that NVIDIA created, especially for China, to bypass the recent ban on GPU. And China already ordered, I think last year China already got 1 million or so, and then they ordered another 1 million or so. NVIDIA already created some, right, in their inventory, about to ship to. Some already shipped, some didn't ship. U.S. government, like April 9th, said, hey, you're gonna need a license to ship that. We might not give you the license, I don't know, indefinitely. So 1 month later, NVIDIA's financial report says, we got all of these inventory, we can't ship them, we're going to write them off. China's not getting those H20s. China's not getting those H20s, which means DeepSeek is not getting those H20s.
Yeah.
Right? So there's a lot of roadblock to the continual success of DeepSeek. But going back to January of this year, when they made the news, besides what we discussed, which is, hitting the App Store top of the chart and just getting tractions, the $6 million costs that shocked everyone for training models, the other thing that really shocked the community that is actually working on generative AI models is R10 and also distill models.
Right.
Let me talk about R10 first. So R10 is, so the R1 is the reasoning model that if you go on deepseek.com, you can use it. If you click on the kind of, I think it's called reasoning or whatever button, right? That's the equivalent of the O1 model published by ChatGPT. That one has a -0 model, which uses a technique that differs from every other model out there that's doing reasoning. And the best way to think about this is the R1 model, or the most reasoning models out there, are actually brilliant thinkers and mathematicians who have gone through formal education, who have been taught how to think through a heavily human evolved post-training process where people like us tell the model, I think this is good, I think this is not.
Human reinforcement.
Exactly.
Right. Human feedback.
Human feedback to make the model perform well. The R10 is unlike someone who went through a formal education, someone who taught themselves math and physics and everything else. There was no human involved. The model itself actually solves complex questions by asking themselves, is this the right way? How do I go about this?
Right.
So you kind of reward yourself as the model every step of the way. So that was kind of a different way that was always discussed in the research community, and DeepSeek proved that it works. In terms of well-performing Chinese models, actually Alibaba published one that's called Quinn that was pretty good, but it didn't make the same splash as DeepSeek because it really was going along the same lines as most US models. DeepSeek actually really made a different innovation, and folks in the US was looking at how this works and they're like, wow, hey, we should try that. Right. So that was one thing that they did that kind of really shocked everyone. The other thing was it's the first time that you can distill a reasoning model. And what distilling means is you have this big model that sits in the server somewhere that as a user you can kind of, if you go on deepseek.com or if you use any of the apps, you can call on the API, right? That big model is the 6 billion one. So it requires a lot of resources to train and to use. But as an individual hobbyist, you can kind of distill that model and make your own mini model using, instead of 600 billion parameters, you can train yours on 7 billion parameters, for example, and you can recreate that model by kind of distilling it and putting it on your MacBook. Not our MacBook Air, but like a better MacBook.
But essentially, it shows that how open source and how accessible it is.
Exactly.
Right? So that more people can enter into this ecosystem.
Yeah.
And then the more developer it is, the bigger the community is, the less that people will switch to other closed-sourced LLMs.
Right.
Which is very smart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the fact that they went with open source actually kind of also shocked everyone. So people can then use this and distill the reasoning model. And the only other comparable reasoning model, if you remember,
Is Llama?
No, not the open source one. The only comparable one is O4.
Right. Yeah.
Which is closed sourced.
Right.
Closed sourced is harder to distill the model because you don't have the parameters.
Right.
So you actually have to query it a billion times to really get a good distillation, which is very costly by any means. So there's no really good way. So DeepSeek R1 was the first distillable reasoning model for the community. And imagine all the hobbyists just going like, yeah,
Let's
cheap
get it on my
model,
laptop.
yes. So it ended up, and I think the CEO of Hugging Face actually quoted this, after the DeepSeek models R1's published, over 500 derivative models
Were
created on Hugging Face.
Ooh.
And these 500 or so models, and this was 2 months ago, so the number probably went up, racked up a total of 2.5 million downloads.
Wow.
Yeah. This is the developer community.
This is the developer.
2.5 million for the developer community.
Right. Wow.
Yeah. And guess who open sourced DeepSeek's model?
Who is this the one and only, the LIANG Wenfeng?
So Perplexity.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
Okay.
Perplexity actually used open. So if you go to Perplexity, you can actually find DeepSeek.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, and they actually did it not for completely free because they have to train it, but it's pretty free, and DeepSeek didn't get a cent.
Wow.
And that's the beauty of open source. So what Perplexity did, which is super smart, is that they retrained, I guess this is called retrained. So they open sourced a version of the DeepSeek R1 model that's been post-trained to provide unbiased, accurate, and factual information. And by unbiased, accurate, and factual, it means they've created prompts that would trigger censored responses. Censor meaning
Gotcha.
right,
Gotcha. Understood.
party censored.
Gotcha.
And they generate a response to these prompts to make the model answer these questions as if they were not censored.
Interesting.
So they created an uncensored version of DeepSeek hosted in the US on Perplexity servers and marketed that successful.
Oh,
yeah.
That's very smart. It's a great way.
Very smart, yeah. And all they have to put up in terms of cost is the post-training and server.
All in all, I do think this is a very successful attempt for a Chinese LLM company.
Definitely.
I like that LIANG Wenfeng is running the company like a college lab. It's giving the freedom to the researchers. And I like that he open sourced. He even embraced with an open mind, I think. He's not making money off of all the copies that's being made, but he is letting people to use it and doing their own creativities. So I think that takes a lot of courage.
Yeah. But I also think this is a bit calculated.
For sure,
because you are not the incumbent.
Definitely.
You're trying to become the incumbent, and the best way to do it is to do it with a community. And to build a community, you open source, right?
Yeah.
So it's actually quite smart.
Yeah. But I guess the question is, DeepSeek, I think, is very far away from, being a public company. I think it still takes a lot of years, and I don't even know whether that's the way for them to go. But with the information that we were able to find online, we can only paint you a very faint picture of what it is and what it is not. And I would highly recommend that we just wait it out and see what could be the future hold for them. I really look forward to what they will be doing. But I do think this is a highly competitive arena, and what LIANG Wenfeng is doing, he's definitely trying his best to, finding talents and, bring up the most interesting, I guess, algorithms or the models that he can create.
I think it did a really good job to stir up the market. And it's sending positive momentum to the research industry, right? To the research community. And I hope that despite all the GPU bans, they can continue, or other companies in China can pop up and challenge the incumbents to create more competition, to create more innovation at this space. Thanks to DeepSeek, actually OpenAI's API price dropped a lot, right? And thanks to DeepSeek, now we have a lot more options when it comes to Chinese LLMs. So I don't know about you, but I know DeepSeek has its performance limitations, but I tend to ask a lot of Chinese questions to DeepSeek, and I find that you get better answers than asking, say, ChatGPT.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I take all of my AI tools with a grain of salt. DeepSeek does well in some things. It can do some very basic secretary work for me. Well, maybe I'm just asking too simple of a question, but I think it still hallucinates a lot at this point.
Yes.
But I would hope that it will continue to improve in the quality of answers that it can provide.
And I really do enjoy the thinking process. I always open that thinking bar. It's it responds quite well to different questions and different contexts. So it kind of shocks me sometimes the type of responses the thinking process would label. Yeah. So today I asked a question, and somehow from my tone, I think the thinking process said, this question seems quite urgent.
What were you asking?
I mean, it was just a really brief. I think I didn't type as much. It misunderstood me. But the fact that, because my question was very brief, it somehow concluded that maybe I have a sense of urgency. It's quite interesting, right? It's so akin to a human that it's a little bit scary at this point.
It's trying to understand what else you're trying to convey to the machine.
Yeah.
It's been very fun researching for DeepSeek.
Super fun.
Yeah.
Super frustrating, but super fun.
Because it changes all the time. Oh.
It's like two people that have no quant trading background, no limited LLM background.
We're LLM users. Doesn't mean we're developers, right?
Yeah. But I think we have to thank the folks that are behind our research that helped us with fact checking.
Well, thank you for all the quant trader friends that I've reached out for your continuous support and not hating me as a friend who is constantly asking financial questions.
Yeah. and thank you for the LLM friend that I reached out that it was helping me kind of answering my questions with a 12-hour time zone difference.
And if you have any questions or comments, please do leave us a message. And if there's any other rising companies that you're interested in hearing us talk about, please do leave a comment as well. We'll see you in the next episode. Bye.
Bye.